Trump got terrible news this Thanksgiving as new polling from The Economist shows that no president has lost popularity faster than President Trump in history. His approval rating sits at 38% approval with 57% disapproving. This is just a reflection of what everyday Americans are feeling. Trump promised low prices to tackle affordability and bring the cost of groceries down on day one. And we are now 311 days into his presidency, and he has not done any of that. In fact, he's caused inflation to go up. I think it's safe to say the honeymoon period is over. And yes, presidents generally lose popularity quickly, but this is just a swift decline for any modern president. According to this poll, he's losing the points with jobs, the economy, taxes, spending, inflation, pricing, and even in immigration now. And just to give you an idea of how bad things really are for him, the special election in Tennessee is a close race in a super deep red district in Tennessee. So guys, this is how things are shifting right now. The momentum is with the Democrats. People are unsatisfied with the job Trump is doing, and they have had enough. Let me know if you have too. Comment, like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make yourself comfortable. Hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and join the conversation below, because today's topic is one you definitely want to sound over. Now, buckle up, because we're diving into the latest chapter of regret setting. The MAGA saga continues. You ever watched someone confidently walk into a wall and then blame the wall for moving? That's pretty much the energy in the air. Now, as growing number of Trump supporters are waking up to harsh reality they didn't expect, from rising costs of living, skyrocketing healthcare, internal MAGA battles, and oh yeah, the president casually threatening a war with Venezuela like he's booking a weekend getaway. So let's talk about it.
What in the authoritarian hell did we witness? Donald Trump signed an executive order that criminalizes homelessness and pushes people with mental health disabilities back into institutions. According to this new order, cities and states are being pressured to clear encampments using police forces, and people who are unhoused can be detained if they're deemed a public safety concern. That sounds vague as fuck, right? That's because it is, and vague laws always get abused. Even more disturbing, the order directs federal agencies to expand institutionalization for people with mental health disabilities, not treatment and not housing institutions. We've been down this road before. It's called warehousing, but what it really is abuse, and it's why the disability rights movement fought for decades to shut these places down. Now Trump wants to bring them back and criminalize poverty in the process? You don't solve homelessness by arresting people. You don't help people with disabilities by locking them away. This isn't policy, it's punishment. And the damage this could do is massive. And if you think Trump gives a shit, just take a look at his own nephew. Share your thoughts in the comment section and follow me for more.
Can we be real for a moment? What we're watching from Trump right now is not strength, it's not strategy, and it sure as hell ain't leadership. This is a man who is unhinged. He's cognitively slipping and dangerously out of touch with the country he's supposed to lead. Now, over the last 48 hours, multiple news outlets, left, right, and international, have confirmed the same disturbing pattern. Trump jumped online and accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Now, he didn't whisper this, he didn't hint at it, he outright said it, invoking execution for elected members of Congress. And you want to know what triggered him? It was a video where Democratic lawmakers told our military and intelligence community the one thing that they swore an oath to do: refuse any illegal orders from any president. That's not sedition, that's the Constitution. But Trump treated it like it was personal betrayal, lashing out like a man who believes loyalty to him is more important than loyalty to the law. And here's the key point. Every credible report backs this up. You got mainstream outlets, you got conservative outlets, you even got international journalists who are saying the same exact thing. Trump's behavior is escalating, it's irrational, and it's reckless. Even his allies melted down. Stephen Miller called lawmakers insurrectionists. Todd Blanche demanded investigations. Pete Hegseth turned the whole damn thing into political theater. Meanwhile, national security experts, people who understand actual sedition, warn loudly that Trump's language could poison military trust, escalate division, and normalize threats of political violence. This is not normal disagreement. This is not standard politics. This is an unstable leader using language of authoritarian regimes, labeling opponents traitors, demanding arrest, and invoking death penalties for political dissent. A president who respects democracy doesn't talk like that. A president who's grounded in reality doesn't think like that. Only someone losing touch with the world around him then jumps straight into execution when people remind the military to follow the law. And the most telling part, even conservatives couldn't clean this up. They tried, but the facts were too loud. Too many reports matched. Too much was on the record. This isn't partisan anymore. This is a warning sign. America isn't supposed to revolve around one man's ego. Our democracy survives because the law stands taller than any president, especially one who's unraveling in public. Now, the real question becomes, how much more instability are we willing to tolerate? Because a leader who demands death for political disagreement isn't defending America, he's endangering it.
I just saw where Trump signed an executive order for people who cannot take care of themselves to be institutionalized. The same thing was done back in the 30s in Europe. We all know by who. It's part of the playbook. That's who they started with. And then you know what happened after that. Kind of doing a little reverse here, starting with the immigrants first. Went after the homeless in DC. And now he's going to go after the disabled. How do you not see this? Are you not aware of what happened in Europe in the 1930s? Is that what this is? Is it just ignorance? Is it lack of education? Is it lack of empathy? Is it you don't care? Well, guess what? ICE just got access to Medicaid records. Who uses Medicaid? The disabled. Wake up, people. You're on the wrong side.
There's been a lot of talk of impeachment lately, but this is the impeachable offense that no one's talking about. Did you know the President of the United States is not allowed to profit off of the laws that they create? Yeah, it's literally an impeachable offense. So here's the bombshell. If a president buys up municipal bonds, local government debt, and then uses their power to change federal policy, especially in a way that will increase the values of those bonds, that is corruption, full stop. It's not a loophole. It's not a gray area. It is an abuse of power for personal gain. Why? Because municipal bonds rise and fall with federal decisions, tax laws, subsidies, infrastructure approvals, you name it. If a president is quietly buying these bonds, then signs new tax incentives on federal programs, that makes those bonds more profitable. That, my friends, is using public office for private enrichment. And here's the kicker. The founders actually predicted this exact scenario. They wrote impeachment into the Constitution for bribery and high crimes and misdemeanors, which includes self-dealing or manipulating the laws to your favor. The powers of office to enrich yourself. This isn't obscure, it's textbook impeachment. Share your thoughts in the comments section and follow me for more.
So Donald Trump, you've been busted by your own party. Yep, the Republicans in the Senate. Actually working with Democrats, get this, on a bipartisan basis on serious foreign affairs issues, uncovered that the Trump regime essentially used Google Translate to turn a Russian demand for Ukraine to surrender into an American proposal for Ukraine to surrender to Russia, for Ukraine to give up all of its eastern territory, to completely, essentially disarm and to never join NATO. So let me explain to you what went down here. So you had this MAGA Republican Senator, Mike Rounds from South Dakota. He was at this Halifax International Security Forum, along with some Democrats as well. And while they were there, they learned about this 28-point plan, which the Trump regime called a peace plan, but it was terms of surrender to be handed to Zelensky. It literally looked like it was written in Russian, just the syntax, the way the words were phrased. It looked like Trump took a Russian plan, ran it through Google Translate, and then said, Zelensky, you have until Thanksgiving to accept this, or else we're not going to provide any support to Ukraine anymore. So, Republican Senator Mike Rounds, in a bipartisan fashion with Democrats, then reached out to Marco Rubio, his former Republican colleague in the Senate, who's now the Secretary of State, and started screaming at him, Rubio, what the hell is going on here? This looks like the Russian demand that Ukraine give up essentially all of its eastern territory and disarm. And then Rubio was like, oh, no. That was just the Russian proposal. That's not our proposal at all. Rubio told the Republican Senator Mike Rounds that this somehow leaked to the press, and it was probably just the fault of the press, and that Russia leaked it, and that this is not the American proposal. This was purely the Russian proposal. So let me show you what Senator Mike Rounds says at this Halifax conference yesterday. But then I'm going to show you how he smoked out the Trump regime along with Democrats, that actually what seems to have transpired is that the Russians gave the U.S. the proposal, the U.S. translated it into English, and then sent it to Zelensky and said, this is our proposal, rather than rejecting this thing and saying, what the hell is this? Yes, Donald, Russia. You literally are laundering the Russian plan. Here, play this clip first of Senator Rounds. Let's play it.
Senator Shaheen mentioned that Secretary Rubio did make a phone call to us this afternoon. I think he made it very clear to us that we are the recipients of a proposal that was delivered.
Okay, so I know we're busy thinking about the Epstein files and Trump defending MBS and calling for Democrats to be executed. But I have to be honest with you, I really think we need to focus on this new healthcare proposal from the president. He's now saying that the only healthcare he will support or approve is sending money directly to the people, with nothing, as he says, going to the big, fat, rich insurance companies who have made trillions and ripped off Americans long enough. The people will be allowed to negotiate and buy their own much better insurance. Power to the people. And then he tells Congress to not even work on any other healthcare plan because this is it. This is such a terrible idea. I almost don't know what to say. But as an incredibly sick person in the social media space, I do think it's my responsibility to say something. So here goes. Giving money directly to the American people, cutting out the middleman of insurance companies so we can just negotiate our own insurance, is insane. It's not a healthcare plan. It is a death sentence for millions of people. Individuals have no negotiating power against hospitals and pharmaceutical companies. Insurance companies are the ones who negotiate for lower prices. In countries that have universal healthcare, it is the government that negotiates prices. And they get the lower prices because they're the only ones at the table. Take Canada, where I grew up. The hospital or drug company negotiates with the Canadian government, or they get nothing. The idea of the American people negotiating one by one is ridiculous. Without a law like the ACA, there won't be any protections for people with things like pre-existing conditions. We can be denied care, charged astronomical amounts, and the powers that be can cap our care. Without legislation, there's nothing to stop that. Just giving people money won't help. How does a $2,000 credit help me? One of the 15 drugs I take is $130,000 every 3 months. Who can pay that? Even the incredibly rich would struggle with that. A hospital stay in America is anywhere between $15,000 and over $50,000. Cancer treatments can go well beyond $250,000. Most people are just going to be priced out of healthcare almost immediately, which will not only affect our health, but the entire health and science industry. Because what happens to doctors and nurses and researchers if no one can afford what they're doing? Donald Trump says you're going to have much better insurance this way. How? If there are no rules, then these companies who are in it for profit can do whatever they want. The ACA mandates essential benefits like maternity care and cancer screenings and prescriptions and hospitalizations. They're all covered. They're required by law. If you remove those rules, then the insurance can just sell you whatever junk plan they want and then not pay it out when you get sick. And you're going to get sick, or someone you love is going to get sick. I have a 1 in a million lung disease, and I was a non-smoking drug-free athlete. Getting a terminal disease is just a crapshoot. And with Donald Trump's plan, any kind of catastrophic diagnosis, any kind of major accident, it's going to bankrupt you. No cash rebate is going to be enough. The bottom line is, if the government stops supporting the insurance market, employers will lose their subsidies. The tax structure will collapse. Premiums are going to skyrocket, and a lot of companies are going to be forced to drop their coverage entirely, leaving all of us to fend for ourselves in a system that does not care about us. When Donald Trump ran in 2016, he promised insurance for everybody. Better, cheaper coverage. No one would lose coverage. This current proposal is the exact opposite of all of those promises. Donald Trump is trying to paint the insurance companies as the enemy. And we know in many ways that they are. But in this case, he is using the enemy to distract you from what really needs to be done, which is to address the structural problem of healthcare in America. Donald Trump has had major success by pointing fingers and saying, those people are your problem and these people are the enemy. But he does that to distract you. So he doesn't actually have to solve the problem, just make you mad at the right people. No one can pay full list price at America's rates. This is a place where hospitals charge you $50 for a Tylenol. Do you know how much an MRI costs? This plan will make healthcare completely unattainable for most people. What's being suggested here is not policy. It's not a plan. There's no structure to it. There's no protections. It has no funding model, no explanation for how people would actually get covered, because this government doesn't actually care if we do. What Donald Trump wrote here is a death sentence. Without someone negotiating for us, we are screwed. Do you want to fight every single hospital and pharmaceutical company about whatever your need is going to cost? No. And for as awful as they are, that is the insurance company's job. Or if we lived in a civilized country with universal health care, that would be the government's job. The fact that our president is suggesting it's our job is a joke. A bad, millions of people will die joke.
As Donald Trump prepares to start an illegal war, meaning without congressional approval, with Venezuela, let me remind you that the entirety of his foreign policy platform was getting us out of wars and keeping us out of wars. Now he is going to start a war with a nation we have no problem with, simply to appease the oil companies. Not for you, not for me, not for America, for the oil companies. He is saying as much on Fox News. Let me remind you, the last time that Americans went to war for the oil companies in Iraq, Republicans, once again in power, at least had the good grace to lie to us, to lie to Congress, to lie to the United Nations, to make up weapons of mass destruction and sell it to the world, to at least create a coalition to go to war under false pretenses for oil. This is greedy and bare. And let me remind you also of what happened after the Iraq War. Do you remember the term, the name ISIS? Do you remember the fear of terror, the beheadings? When you attack a sovereign nation for no other reason but greed, there will be consequences back home. You will create terror in response.
So here we are. The country is dealing with record high living expenses, grocery prices that could make a grown man cry, energy bills that look like ransom notes, and healthcare costs that practically require a second job just to keep up. And all of these unfolds. As all of these unfolds, the people who cheered the loudest in 2024 are suddenly blinking in disbelief, asking, wait, how did this happen? Well, let's see, maybe, just maybe, that long list of promises about cheaper everything and America winning again wasn't exactly glued together with facts. But hey, optimism is a beautiful thing, right? Inside the MAGA camp, the situation is even messier. The internal cracks are widening. One faction blames the globalist boogeyman. Another points fingers at deep state plots, and Others are whispering that maybe, just maybe, the man they put on a golden pedestal hasn't quite been delivering the golden results. But don't worry, there's always Venezuela, because whenever domestic chaos gets loud, nothing says change the subject like threatening a military confrontation with a foreign country. Yes, you heard that right. As Americans nationwide are frustrated with inflated food prices, ridiculous rent, and healthcare premiums that look like lottery jackpots, the president's latest headlines is a chest-thumping message about possibly going to war with Venezuela. Because, of course, when in doubt, shake the table and hope nobody notices the broken dish on the floor. And you can feel the shift, the tone, the mood. The same supporters who once shouted, "We trust you," with full confidence, are now leaning in, squinting, trying to figure out what the magic was supposed to happen. Was the magic supposed to happen? Now, was it before eggs hit $8 a carton? Before a fever and a sore throat meant choosing between a doctor's visit or paying the electricity bill? Before the party started fighting fighting itself harder than it fights its opponent? Now, this isn't the victory tour people expected. It's more like the terms and conditions section of a contract that they didn't read. You know, the part where everything goes sideways. Sarcasm aside, the reality is hitting hard. You can see it in everyday life. Parents having to decide between brand name cereal and generic. Seniors skipping medications because their out-of-pocket costs doubled, sometimes tripled. Workers taking on extra shifts just to afford the same lifestyle they had 2 years ago. And through it all, the administration insists everything is going according to plan. And maybe it is depending on what the plan actually was in the first place. But the most telling shift is how public frustration is growing, not just from those who were skeptical from day one, but from those who once proudly wore the red hat, defended every policy, and believed every word. They are looking around now, realizing the American greatness they were promised is not exactly matching the lived experience. That's the thing about slogans. They are much easier to create than functional policies. Meanwhile, Trump's internal crisis is reportedly scrambling as infighting intensifies. Advisors contradicting each other, confusion over strategy, public statements that raise more questions than answers. The MAGA machine is making so much noise. You almost need noise-canceling headphones just to go through the headlines. And still looming in the background is Venezuela, another potential military distraction, another attempt to project strength onward while things crumble inward. Crisis politics at its finest. But here's the irony. Many of the people feeling regret today aren't bad people. They are people who believed, people who hoped, people who trusted, and now they're struck, or rather stuck, navigating consequences they didn't expect, but definitely can't ignore anymore. So, where does America go from here? That's the question hanging in the air. Because regrets might be setting in, but regret alone doesn't fix inflation. It doesn't lower healthcare prices. It doesn't calm political chaos. And it definitely doesn't bring back stability that so many Americans desperately want. Right? Okay, so thanks for watching today's breakdown. If you enjoyed this commentary, hit that like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts below in the comment section. Now, do you think the growing regret among Trump supporters will shift anything politically? How do you feel about the rising cost of living under the current administration? And what's your take on the president threatening war with Venezuela? Distraction or danger? Let me know in the comment section. I can't wait to hear what you think. Until then, credit belongs to original creators.